We're unleashed. At least I'm unleashed because I'm the only person you can see. Oh, now it's a we. Now it's the royal we because there's two people on screen. He's James.
I'm James. What's up? Can you hear me? I didn't check my mic.
I can hear you very well.
Okay, good.
Sir, how are you?
Good. Before we get started, I do have to say something.
Mhm.
Today marks the 3 years of Infinity Rewatch. I didn't know that, but I went on Facebook, and the only thing I do on Facebook now is, other than promote things, is look at memories. And it came up as a memory, and there you were. You started off with Iron Man 1 in 2019, December 1st, 2019. Infinity Rewatch was born. So congratulations on 3 years, Mr. Fantasia.
Thank you, sir. I can't believe it's been 3 years. We were fresh-faced youngsters. We were wild and reckless. And now we're pretty much the same, except I'm not as fresh-faced anymore.
No, you're not.
Fresh-headed.
Since then, we've made one movie together or two? How many have we done?
Since 2019, I think just one. Because that was the end of 2019. So then pandemic, Dead as the Night, and that was it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The pandemic.
Yeah.
Right after you sparked the pandemic because of
Infinity Rewatch. Everybody wanted to not go to work. They just wanted to stay at home, listen to us talk about Marvel. So somebody was like, hey, what if we just make like a disease or something? And it just got out of control. So I apologize. It's our fault.
Absolutely. That's what happened. So I'm looking after the baby. But anyway, yeah. So 3 years. Congratulations. It's been awesome. You guys have covered pretty much everything except for what the Netflix shows is the one thing you avoid like the plague. But
yeah, that's it. That's all we've not talked about so far. But
you've literally done everything.
Pretty much, yeah. Every episode of every Disney Plus show, including What If. We didn't do the Groot show because I don't think anybody watched the Groot show.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, see? So it wasn't really on our radar. So we were like, yeah, maybe we are not Groot at this point in time.
I think they did say it was canon, but I don't care enough.
Yeah, I mean, if him eating space M&Ms is canon, great. But it's like, okay. See, Selena agrees. She's like, look, I don't need your Groot canon.
Oh, I think she's getting hungry. Oh, great. It was perfect timing. There you go. All right. You're sucking her thumb. Hi. Anyway, yeah, so the Groot show, though, I think that was for kids, right? Like, whatever. I didn't see it, obviously, but I think it was made for kids, which is fine. Not everything can be for adults.
Yeah, not everything can be Andor dropping F-bombs left, right, and center.
You called that one.
I can't believe it.
This is how we roll now.
She still has more hair than either of us, so she's doing okay. Yeah, Andor is officially the first Star Wars project to almost drop the magic word. And what better place to drop it than in Fiona Shaw's mouth? I'm glad they didn't. It would have been a mistake. But I'll stand by what I said earlier, where if they had to put it in Star Wars, that's the one instance where I think you could put it, where it's somebody saying, F the Empire. Because that's what it's all about, right? That's what Star Wars is all about. It's about fighting evil. It's about fighting corruption, fighting oppression, standing up to bullies, just good people standing up to help other people. So that's the spot to put it, but I'm glad that I'm glad cooler heads prevailed. Would it have been cool? A little bit, but I think in the long run, we would have regretted it. So I'm happy with Linus Mosk saying shit out of the corner of his mouth.
Yeah, you got that. I think the F-bomb's a little too far. I think that's going a little too far, personally. Yeah, I turned off my camera because no one needs to see what's happening now. It's just a lot of... basically, it feels like I'm doing weights right now.
You're nursing, aren't you?
I'm nursing, yeah. I have nipples, Greg. She's just so... But look. So I'm glad they didn't use it. I know the cast said that they were excited about it. Oh, jeez. She's upset, too.
Oh no.
I know the cast said that they were very upset about it, or they were they're excited about it.
Uh-huh.
But I just feel like it's not, I don't know. There's no place, for me, there's no place for an F-bomb in Star Wars.
It would raise questions. It would raise questions where, okay, why are all these really hardcore truckers and bounty hunters saying Dank Ferrick? This lady on this one planet is like, you know what? Nope. I got a different word for how I'm feeling. It would start raising some concerns, and it would raise eyebrows throughout canon. Again, I think it would have been fun, but I totally understand why Disney drew a line in the sand. But I heard they made up for it because every episode of Willow, which I have not seen yet, James, has apparently 74 F-bombs. And my source was Variety, so I think that's legit. Pauline Harvey's in the chat. She says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Pauline. Thank you for joining us here on
Willow. Hi, Pauline. Willow feels like a show that would have a lot of F-bombs. I can't take this.
Selena's like, look, my ears are still newborn ears. Don't you guys be talking about curse words in my presence. Mr. Rez, hello, Mr. Rez. Welcome to the chat. We know that if Rez had his way, Andor would be full of F-bombs, wouldn't it, Rez? I think that there's a time and a place for it. That may have been the time and the place, but is Star Wars the time and the place? And I think that's a debate that fans might be having for a few years to come. And that's okay, because Andor is worth talking about, and we have to wait God knows how long till we get the next season. But apparently we don't have to wait too long, because the release date for something else dropped, I think today, James. The release date for Mandalorian Season 3 was announced as March 1st, 2023. Now, you were saying last time we did this that, yeah, the Mandalorian's coming out soon, and you're absolutely right. It is very soon. It is 3 months from today. Now, I don't know when or if we'll get another trailer before then, but I think and I hope that we get some kind of, I don't know. I don't know how to describe the trailer I want, because I felt like the last trailer was fine, but it wasn't like the trailer to get me excited, like, oh, Mandalorian's coming back. So I hope if we do get one, it's that kind of trailer. The kind of trailer that's like, yup. It's not even about selling the story of season 3 at that point. It's just about, guess who's back? This guy. That, I think, the last trailer didn't quite hit for me. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Mr. Rez, you say it's presumptuous of me to think that. Yeah, you're probably right. It's presumptuous of me to think that. I apologize. But we're living in presumptuous times. There's an empire that has to be fought, and Marva turned into a brick. We gotta roll with the punches here. Now, some other stuff in the world of Lucasfilm just kind of dropped in our laps. And I know Selena is probably still crying about it because she's really upset. She said that she doesn't like the title, but Indiana Jones 5 has a title and a trailer. And it's called, I can't even say it out loud because I'm too excited. It's called The Dial of Destiny, and Sala is in it, which was, I mean, talk about well-kept secrets in an era where you can't keep these secrets anymore. These kinds of things just can't be kept under wraps for too long. I mean, we knew Christopher Lloyd was in Mandalorian for how long now? And like, we're still waiting for that. So it's like, to see Sala pop up, not only pop up, but kind of start narrating this trailer and be pretty much the focal point of this trailer until we get the big indie reveal. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. He's lost a lot of weight. He's not the big lovable rascal he was, but that's okay. He's still got a fez. He's still hanging out with Indiana Jones. He still wants to have adventures. I think there was some kind of stuff happening on top of a train. We know that that's par for the course. So the Dial of Destiny is a thing, and it's coming out in less than half a year, about half a year. So I want to know. We want to know. What do you guys think about it? Rez, you say you love it. So good. I assume you're talking about Indiana Jones, unless you're still talking about The Way, because I also love The Way, and it is Good. I agree. James is busy taking care of little baby Razile, but when he gets back, I want to hear him talk about what he has to say about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, because I'm assuming he's got some thoughts. Remember, James is older than me. He was born in 1980, I believe. So he was born at peak Jones. That's what we're calling it now. So he grew up with them alongside them as they were coming out. I had the
1981 Fantasia. 81?
81, I'm sorry. 81. I had the different experience where my mom had the trilogy on VHS, and I was just like, okay, I'll watch these all kind of, within days of each other. But you had to wait for them, like everybody else. So what is Dial of Destiny doing for you right now?
The trailer looked really good. I love the Indiana Jones movies. They are amongst my favorite. It's my favorite theme song. And I was excited to see Sala back because I'm one of the people that love Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing that Sala's not in it. And then he obviously shows up for Last Crusade, which I like that one. But as time goes on, I like it less and less. It ventures too far into the camp for me. I noticed, like as I got older, I'm like, it's a little. Raiders has always been my favorite. That was the first one I obviously saw. I grew up with Raiders. It was like Star Wars. It was something I saw before I can remember.
Before you had object permanence, you knew the plot of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, like I already knew. Like it was the ball. Like, and don't forget the ball. Everyone forgets the boulder going down. Probably for like 10 to 15 years was the most iconic scene in cinema. Muppet Babies parodied it. Like it was everywhere. Everyone knew it. He had a meatball. Everyone, made a reference to it in any capacity. So it was just, it was that. But I love Temple. I remember the first time I saw Temple of Doom. I loved it. Last Crusade I really liked. And then, of course, there was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which came out, it's funny because there's probably been as much time between Last Crusade and Crystal Skull as there has been between Crystal Skull and now, but it felt like an eternity. And but the thing with Indiana Jones is I remember sitting in the doctor's office in like the mid to late, or the dentist office in the mid to late 90s, and they're drilling away or whatever, they're cleaning. And you'd hear on the radio, well, Spielberg and George Lucas have announced they're going to start work on another Indiana Jones. And you're like, oh, it's coming. And then never happened. And then all of a sudden it happened, and now it's happened. And I remember that Frank Darabont was writing one for Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
And this one now Spielberg isn't around and Mangold's in. And the trailer, I like the trailer a lot. It did have the new Spielberg cinematography look to it. But I thought it was a fine trailer.
It is a nice trailer. It sets it up. It doesn't. I feel like this is going to sound incorrect, but you got to bear with me here. It doesn't feel like it's banking on nostalgia, even though that's what the whole thing is about. Like, yeah, you got Sala and Indy, but it's really leaning hard and heavy into this new story and these new characters, and like it's inviting you into the new world of Indiana Jones, as opposed to saying, remember young Indiana Jones, right? It's pushing you into this plot.
Harrison Ford said that the de-aging was incredible and he'd never seen anything like it. And when they showed him in this, I was like, yeah, that looked incredible. I thought it looked incredible. I forgot he was 80. It's not like The Irishman where the whole time you're like, oh my God. Like they actually now The Irishman was different because they moved 75-year-olds and they're supposed to be 20-year-olds, and that was different. But yeah, I thought that was great. I'm excited for it. I'm going to hopefully go see it as soon as it comes out, like I did. I think Crystal Skull is the only Indiana Jones movie I've seen in the theater. Oh. Have I seen Raiders in like a re-release type of thing? I know I've seen I used to go all the time to movies for like $2 and you watch old movies on the theater. Like I saw Batman, Tim Burton's Batman. I've seen Jurassic Park probably 20 times in the theater. And other than like the one time I saw it when it first came out, I paid like 65 cents to see it every time since, because it used to just always come up. I used to deliver papers. They're like, you can go see any movie you want for a dime. And I'm like, yeah. And I would go see like Jurassic Park. But I think it's a good one. So I'm excited to go see it. This trailer, it was really good. It was the first trailer, and they released the title in the trailer. Unfortunately, the stupid thing I saw first gave away the. Although I'm not really into revealing the titles in trailers. Like, who cares? Like I know Avengers, they made a big deal of it. Star Wars, I thought was dumb. I never liked that they did that with Star Wars. I'm like, you don't need to. They just tell us to forget. It's episode 9. What is the title? Because I also feel, Indiana Jones. Maybe I didn't really care. Like we're gonna call it Indiana Jones. I don't care, right? Like it's the Dial of Destiny. Fantastic. It's actually just Indiana Jones, the one after Crystal Skull.
Yeah, the Rise of Skywalker thing felt like just a JJ thing. Like, let's let him wait. Let's not say anything. Let's be mysterious. And then with this one,
with Avengers.
Yeah. And with Dial of Destiny, when I got the message from you, I felt the same thing. I was like, oh crap, the thumbnail is telling me the title already. But then the trailer doesn't make a big deal of like, and here it is, like Rise of Skywalker did. So it was just like, yeah, here you go. Here's the title.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like a big, like I didn't feel spoiled for me seeing that thumbnail. I didn't see any of them in theaters except Crystal Skull as well, which I feel like that movie's aging well for me. But I'll never forget one time I was like 8 years old and I was like, I want to watch Temple of Doom. And I turned on the TV and I got the cassette to put Temple of Doom in the VCR. And whatever channel I had turned on was playing Temple of Doom. And it was the shot of the three of them riding the elephants into the jungle. And I'm like, oh my God, perfect timing. But I started my VHS anyway because commercials are for chumps.
And that movie has a very iconic movie scene as well. The railroad or the mine carts.
Yeah.
Super iconic. And I think it's one that people forget. That's Indiana Jones, DuckTales. So Indiana Jones is a great part of it's cinema gold. Cinema gold.
And it's funny that this happens now because I think I mentioned this on the show maybe, but I'm in the process right now, James, of getting ready to self-publish 2 of my fantasy novels, the ones I've been working on for many, many, many moons since high school.
Wait, have I read it?
I don't think you have.
Which one?
It's the fantasy novel with the wizards. And there's a kid who's purple. You know.
Does it start with an A?
His name starts with an A.
You're not going to tell us the title of this book?
Yeah, the book is called We Were Wizards.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so wizard.
I know, right? But those, especially the first book, has a lot of Indiana Jones in its blood because it's a treasure hunt. So it's just funny that this is coming out now and the hype is starting to get rolling because that book has Indiana Jones's fingerprints all over it. I owe those movies a lot. So I'm happy that they're closing it out with this one. And it sounds like everybody at Lucasfilm wants to go out on a higher note than Crystal Skull. So here's hoping this is special. What do you think the Dial of Destiny is, James? Is it a time travel disc? What are we looking at here?
I don't know. I haven't even considered it yet because I just watched the trailer and I had a screaming baby in my face. Dial of Destiny. It feels something from the past, obviously, but I kind of feel like it just has to do with Indiana Jones, and maybe he gets stuck in a time loop, and that's why no actor will ever replace Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. Wow. I don't know. I'm curious what it is. What do you think it is?
I'm assuming because I saw somebody holding something around. It went by so fast, and I was all euphoric. So God only knows. But I'm assuming it's like a thing, like a sundial, like a little sundial. And you're like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to go to the year whatever. It's like a little mini DeLorean thing. Because if this is supposed to be about neo-Nazis in the 60s, I mean, what better plot? They're mad that they lost World War II. So Mads Mikkelsen is like, if I get my hands on this Destiny dial, I can rewind to 1945 and change things, yeah? And Indiana Jones is like, nope, we got to put a stop to this. So I think that movie kind of writes itself.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, and then you can go back in time and have fun with what they're doing. So we know they go back in time. We saw it in the trailer. They talk about de-aging, but apparently it starts with the de-aging. So who knows if it goes? But they also never mentioned Salah. I'm glad they showed him, but I'm also like, just why didn't you save him for the movie? You kept them like the biggest secret since Baby Yoda, and you just like threw it in the beginning of the trailer. Like, why bother keeping it a secret at that point? I mean, it's great that they did because I'm so sick of everything getting spoiled way ahead of time. Like, I'm just so sick of it.
Mhm.
So sick of hearing everything. I was on something today and they're like, this is happening. I'm like, well, thanks. Why do we need to know that? Like, frick, man. Can we just enjoy things again? It's getting frustrating. Anyway, Dial of Destiny, very excited. Hopefully it's hopefully it's good and it's a big money maker for Lucasfilm because they need it. They're hurting.
They are. In fact, they just lost Kathleen Kennedy. She's gone. That's it. Check the board. She's gone, and nobody is replacing her. So they're in trouble.
Canned.
Now, there's one more thing that we wanted to kind of wax on here, and that kind of involves our subject matter here at Rebel Scum Podcast, and it also kind of doesn't. Let's talk about DC. Because something's going on there.
I don't like where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
This ties in with your Infinity rewatch being 3 years old, I think. I think the time works out perfect.
Yeah, there we go. Now we got to start DC-nity rewatch or something. We got to come up with a clever name for that.
We should do a DC one somehow.
Yeah,
I say
that would be fun. It'll just be me, and you'll be like, put my comments in this part. When you talk about Catwoman, make sure you say this.
Hawkman.
Yeah, that's it. Hawkman. That's just the whole episode is just about him, which is what I want. And I haven't seen Black Adam yet, but he is the piece of that puzzle I'm most looking forward to seeing. However, this whole thing with James Gunn is happening, and it's exciting because there's a roadmap. There's finally some kind of roadmap, and we don't know what it is yet, but we feel like we're in good hands. And then James Gunn went and said something the other day that makes me feel like we're in even better hands, ? Shrug emoji. Because he said, James, that he is building this comic book cinematic universe and he's planning it out and he's getting all his ducks in a row, but he's not looking to the MCU as an influence or an inspiration. He's looking at the Star Wars universe and the way Star Wars has played with interconnectivity. What do you think that could possibly mean for DC?
Well, I think you're the one that told me about this. So I think it's a smart move, and I heard he's going to connect animation and video games and stuff, which is good, I guess. It's tough, though. It is tough because Star Wars has struggled. I find Fallen Order is perfect in how it works, but then you have Battlefront, which is like it's the first thing they said, Andrew, was there. I don't know why I'm getting into this, but they were like, and I love Battlefront. It's nothing to do with the game itself, okay? That's like whether you like your Battlefront or your Fantasia about it, doesn't matter. What I'm saying though is they were like, everything's gonna connect: the books, the comics, the video games, the board games, the action. Everything's gonna connect. And the first thing they do is they're like, here's Battlefront, and in the first commercial, Boba Fett is like, oh, I almost went to the Sarlacc pit, and you're like, what happened? What are you like? I love Battlefront. It is an arcade game, whatever. Like it's a shoot 'em up, and it's not canon. So I feel like if this is the game plan that they have at DC, you learn from the Lucasfilm early stages, and you say, okay, I think there's got to be room for like Injustice, though. You know what I mean? Like for like games that are not connected, but like the Joker 2, De Juge or whatever it's called. That is not part of DC Studios. That's like a separate division. And I think video games hopefully could be treated the same way. Like just keep making more of those. But for the movies, I think the smartest part of this, Andrew, for me, is that they're not following Marvel. So then you're not copying the Marvel template, which everyone loves, but I think we talked about this recently. Everyone's kind of getting tired of it in a lot of ways. And I don't think they're getting tired of it. Like, I don't think they're tired of it now. I think they're tired of it 2 months after they see the movie and they hate Thor: Love and Thunder to pieces. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's treading in like when The Force Awakens came out, everyone loved it. Then like the next day, everybody hated it. Avatar, everyone loved it. The next day, everybody hated it. It's kind of like Marvel. It's so popular. It took them 10 plus years to get there, where those movies took a year. But I think it's smart because they're like, well, and plus Marvel's perfected that, right? So they're like, let's stay with that.
Yeah.
But what they're doing here, let's do that. So then you could do what Marvel is doing because that's basically the same template, and then you just make it grander. And I think it's a great idea. I'm just concerned, like you said, you haven't seen Black Adam, and you go to see everything, and I haven't seen Black Adam, and I love Hawkman. The problem is Black Adam still is Black Adam going to like the word, like, why isn't Black Adam making a movie? Is Black Adam factoring into what they're doing? Why should anyone care about Black Adam if that's not the future of your universe? Like, so I don't know. I think it is. Like, I think they're going to play with what they've got. I think they're going to take what they have and kind of manipulate it and mold it into the direction they want to take it. But that's the one negative. But I do think following Star Wars, the Star Wars formula, video games, movies, books, and all that makes a lot of sense because then you could be Marvel on steroids.
Yes, that's the key there. You're right. It's the multimedia thing, which Star Wars has been good at since 1990s. Because Marvel, the MCU, I mean, it's funny. Marvel Comics is amazing at merchandising. I mean, like, I've got Marvel Snap on my phone. I've got Marvel United, the greatest board game ever made. There's Marvel stuff everywhere. There's no DC stuff anywhere. DC is like, oh, you want merchandise of me? Oh, please. Like, that seems to be their attitude. And the thing about the Marvel merch is it's got nothing to do with the movies. There's no tie-in board game. There's no tie-in novel. There was almost a tie-in Thanos novel, and they didn't do it because they're like, yeah, this isn't our thing. Why do we need this? And that's great. There's so much material in all those movies and now Disney Plus shows. They don't need other tie-in stuff. The point is that the movies themselves are the tie-in stuff. That's what made Marvel different in the first place. So for DC to look at what Star Wars is doing and say, okay, we got our movies, we'll have shows, because the people love the Arrowverse and the Flash. All my students, they watch Flash. They're obsessed with Flash. So those shows are making bank. So you get your movies and your shows to cross-pollinate. You get your video games to cross-pollinate. DC is arguably a bigger world with more characters than Marvel in it. So you want to cover a lot of ground. That's how you do it. And then next thing you know, you're right, James, it's like Marvel on steroids. And I think they could have something really special there, as long as they do another thing that Star Wars has been more or less always good at doing, which is making sure the movies are the most special things. That when a movie comes out, it's not just, oh, yeah, here's a movie. It's, here's a book, here's this, here's that. And get ready, because this is all leading to the next movie. And then that movie is the biggest thing that year. That magic is something that MCU, God bless you, I love you, but that magic doesn't exist in your world because you set up a different template. Yeah. So you put that magic in DC, beautiful.
And I think what they're doing, and James Gunn just tweeted out a picture of like all the DC characters around the table. I think what they have to do is they have to find out what, and Marvel hasn't, I don't think Marvel's done this. They have to figure out why. Maybe DC won't do this either, but they have to know why this is on TV and why this is in the theater. Right. And there has to be a difference. I think Marvel start off with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on TV. You're like, okay, it's a police procedural, but with superheroes, fine. They're like, and then the movies will be the big events around it. You're like, perfect. That makes a lot of sense. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, WandaVision was smart because it played into the TV thing, right? It was, the gimmick was it's a TV show.
Yeah.
Perfect. But I think they've kind of lost their way in that lately. Like maybe She-Hulk. I haven't seen all of She-Hulk, so maybe that's similar to this, but it's almost like Moon Knight and Loki. Why aren't they movies almost? Like what separates them from the movies? And I think there's a separation. And the box office aren't really being hurt by it, but I think people are starting to say like, especially when they're coming out like 45 days later on TV. But like people are like, well, why am I going to go see Thor when I can watch Moon Knight on TV? Like, why am I doing that? So you have to have, I'm not saying a quality difference, but there has to be like that event. Like I can guarantee you Avengers Krang is going to be massive because that's going to be an event, right? Everyone's going to be like, I got to go see this event happen.
I wish it was Krang.
No, well, Ant-Man might be big, but I don't know because it's Kang and because the fans know he's coming, maybe. But I don't know, like, why would I go see Ant-Man over just staying home and watching Moon Knight if I haven't seen Moon Knight? So I think DC, I'm not really saying that as a negative for Marvel because they're just like, screw it, we can do whatever we want. But DC, like, they have to, like, why is the Flash on TV? You know, why? Because I mean, luckily, I think with the Flash being off the air, that's not going to affect the movie so much. But if the movie came at the same time as the thing, I don't know. Maybe the only thing that would make people want to go see it is Michael Keaton. And a lot of the young kids don't really seem that excited to see Michael Keaton. So, and Pauline just mentioned Peacemaker, and I think there is a very big difference between Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, right? The stakes are a lot higher, right? But like, yeah. And I think and then that might actually be the perfect example. There is if you look you make the TV shows Peacemaker-esque. You can have, I think, probably like high lister superheroes on TV, but you make it kind of like that. And I think that Peacemaker was great is it felt very different from the Zack Snyder stuff. And then in that last episode, when all the Zack Snyder characters show up, it felt like it was all one universe. And I thought that gelled way better than I thought. And I love the Suicide Squad's probably, I like Man of Steel, the Suicide Squad, like my top 2 DC films. I wouldn't count the Batman anyway, because I don't think it's part of this, but like they're not similar at all. But when they kind of came together, it felt natural.
Yeah, it did. It didn't feel out of place to see Aquaman show up and have Peacemaker swear at him. And that feels like the foot in the door. Like maybe that's what James Gunn wants. And that's the first sort of hint of the multimedia world he's looking to make. If it's anything like the Star Wars world, that's exciting. Do I want 12 DC novels that are mediocrely written? No. But do I want this organization to feel cohesive, and do I want it to spell good things for the future of DC? Absolutely.
Do they do novels? I have some Batman novels. Some of them are good, some of them not so much. Or you just stick to comics. Just be like, this section of DC Comics is associated with the DC studios.
Yes.
Just like video games, you can have some that go off, but that's how I don't know. You really gotta, and I think they're gonna take their time, but you really gotta plan it out. I think because if you just rush this stuff, it's stupid and pointless, and then it just feels like too much. And like when Star Wars first started, I remember it was like, why? Like we're getting so much stuff. Why? And then there's a point I was like, why can't you just tell me a legend story now? Like I still feel like that every once in a while. I'm like, just fake it. Just give me some legends.
I got to give you the phone number of that company that makes that board game so you can give it a piece of your mind. The Mandalorian, we don't know where he was, so we're not going to put him in this game.
Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started.
Oh, that is so dumb. But this makes me excited for DC, and I hope I just hope they keep feeding off each other. I hope Lucasfilm sees cool stuff that DC does and is like, oh yeah, we can do that with Star Wars. We've been slacking, and then it's just give and take. Because it's like Stan Lee says, you don't want the competition to fail. You want them to do really, really well, so that all their fans like your stuff too. Except you sell like one issue better than they do. That's the beauty of having 2 concurrent things that feed from a same fan base.
Absolutely makes complete sense, and I think DC, if Warner Brothers allows Gunn and Safran to stick to this plan, I think we're in for a good time. Mm-hmm. Dark Knight trilogy. You see, I think the Batman. So the Batman's part of DC. This is what's confusing. The Batman's part of DC Studios, but the Joker is not, and they have to figure that. They're gonna have to figure Batman out because Zaslav said they won't have 4 Batmans on the screen. I feel like that's a big reason why Batgirl got canned. So who's Batman? Is it Ben Affleck? Is it Pattinson? Are they going to be like Matt Reeves? You can make whatever movies you want, but Pattinson is our guy for the everything. Like he's going to be in other stuff. And then how does that work if Reeves stuff is all like grounded in reality, and then the next movie you see Batman and he's in space flying on Superman's back? You know, it's like
He's riding a Green Lantern dragon.
yeah. You know, so that is something they got. Batman's a character I'm very curious how they're going to deal with. Or do they just be like, you know what, we won't have Batman because MCU didn't have Spider-Man for how long?
Right.
So I mean, he was their big seller, right? So, and he was existing separately from Marvel until everyone decided he should go over to Marvel. So, you know, maybe they try it without Batman for a little while. And if your movies are good, I think what Marvel did prove is people will go see them.
Exactly. And with Batman, all you would need to do is keep on, you start with that one trunk of a tree and you just keep on branching until you get where you got to go. So if Batman is the trunk of this tree, he's got some crazy characters he interacts with. He knows Harley. He's met Harley. Guess what? Harley's met Peacemaker. Guess what? Peacemaker might meet Superman. He might meet Green Lantern. I think it's going to be more of that kind of branch, which again is very similar to what Star Wars is, where, hey, this guy met Boba Fett. Hey, well, Boba Fett met the Mandalorian. Well, the Mandalorian met Pelimato and the Skittles gang, etc. And now the Skittles gang is probably not going to meet like Luke Skywalker, but we know we can trace where they came from. The 6 degrees.
I think they're going to be in Andor season 2.
I hope they're in Andor season 12. I hope they're in everything, especially the Black series that they're never going to make of those. God, those would be so nice. Pauline, get me a Black series of all the Skittles gang, please. Make it happen. Make it so.
I think at some point they'll be made into something. At some point.
Oh, Mad Max 408 is saying Guardians 3 trailer just dropped. This is an exciting night.
I heard that in the Ant-Man gonna drop as well.
Wow.
By the way, what did you make of the because we just talked to Indiana Jones, but what did you make of the Super Mario Brothers trailer that just dropped?
It is one of the most visually beautiful looking things I've ever seen. They are not only are they karting, James, not only are they karting on Rainbow Road, but the whole gang is there. Like the Koopalings were behind him. I think I saw like a Shy Guy back there. It was hard to tell, but like that is, again, that's a Sala moment. I don't think anybody expected that, but damn, was it nice to see that. I'm not going to lie. I still have reservations about his voice because in this one, he sounds more like Chris Pratt than he ever did even in the last one. But everything else, I think is pitch perfect. I love what they're doing with Peach. Anya Taylor-Joy kind of looks like Peach, so it's kind of weird because she's got that Peach face to her. So I'm like, oh my god, it's like, did they just like mocap her? But I'm in for this. What do you think?
I was blown away. I thought, oh, this looks exactly like Super Mario Brothers. I'm watching the Guardians 3 trailer right now. It's very loud in my ear. Let me turn it down.
Oh.
I love the Mario trailer. Look, like Mario Brothers, it was the Mario Brothers that I love. His voice, I don't have a problem with it. I've grown up with like 17 different Mario voices, so I'm not too, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. So I'm not
Don't spoil anything.
Sorry, Drax. You got to watch this trailer. It already started amazing. Yeah, I've grown up with so many different Mario voices. His voice didn't bother me. I love when he did the Wahoo and Let's It Go because it reminded me of when you're a kid and you watch cartoons and then there was the big movie coming out and the voice was different and it was a little bit more sophisticated. That's what I really, really dug about it.
Yeah, there's that 90s thing. And I wanted to make a video essay about it on my channel. I probably still might. It was the whole idea of the
cutting you off.
You're cutting me off? Okay, what's up?
The song in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer is Space Hog. Okay, Space Hog.
Uh-huh.
And I think I said to you or to Rob months ago, I'm like, they need to make a Bloodsport movie and this would be his song. And it's just funny that it's James Gunn and it's
See.
Face Hog.
He knows.
Anyway, so I really love that Mario Brothers trailer. It blew my mind. I wasn't like everything in it is a Tanuki shit, like everything Mario. It was like Super Mario. People are complaining about this and that, but I undeniably Mario Brothers to me, and I'm excited. Now Luigi being kidnapped, I thought was very was very predictable.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, Andrew, that we're going to see Peach get kidnapped at some point, and we are going to get a "Sorry Mario, but your princess is in another castle." At least a gag. We're going to get that at some point. And Guardians 3 looks. I mean, the Guardians movies are near flawless.
All I know is after this Mario movie, sales of side scroller better go up. Okay, because that kind of humor is all over that book. Oh, you mean this book right here? This one? Guys, if you can't wait for the Mario movie, this will tide you over for a while. Because look how big it is.
A long while.
Very long while. Luigi, to me, I mean, he was the most important part of this movie for me. You know how much I love Luigi. He's not only my favorite Mario character, but he's my favorite Nintendo character. He seems like they could not have done him more perfectly in this.
I thought Charlie Day was perfectly cast when they announced it. I know Rob disagreed with me, but I'm like, no, that for some reason, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's one of the voices from the cartoons, but that's what Luigi in my mind sounded. I'm like, no, that sounds like Luigi.
Yeah, I agree. When I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. And apparently he is like half Italian or something too. So he can bring that flavor to it. So give me all the Luigi.
So
I'm all set.
Pratt.
Mamma mia, let's go. I'll still hold up my reservations till I see it. And as far as his voice is concerned, but
yes, his grandfather is Italian.
Charlie Day.
Yeah. So he's got a little touch of it. Probably as much as Luigi had, but like, you know, I don't really like Chris Pratt. The one thing you can't deny, and I don't care what anyone says, Chris Pratt is a great voiceover actor. And I think that's why he keeps getting cast, because when you watch that movie, whether you like his voice or not, the performance is great. Like, you buy it. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of like A-list actors who suck at voice acting, suck at it. And for some reason, we give them a pass every time because they're big stars. But Chris Pratt, he's believable in his performance, and it's fun. And I think that's what this Mario Brother. I still think if they went with the new voice from the video games, it's new. It's 30 freaking years now, but it would have been too. Like, you see people dub the trailer with it. I'm like, no, it's already annoying. It's great in the game for 4 seconds, great, but in a movie, for me, it's a hard pass.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like 90 minutes of Charles Martinet. I love you, Charles. I got nothing bad to say about you. But I feel like 90 minutes of him as Mario might have gotten a little grating. Like,
but he does the voice in the movie. They have acknowledged his.
Yeah,
it's not like they've forgotten him.
Yeah, so he's somewhere in there. So yeah, I've never been championing that flag. You know, like, it should have been Charles. That was never really my bag either.
For me, I think I find Chris. Like I said, I think Chris Pratt's going to be. You have to get past your expectations of Mario's voice. I don't know how we got on this, but I think Chris Pratt's going to be fine because he's a good performance. But for me, I think like the Bob Hoskins voice, like he was channeling like the Lou Albano from, like, that was my voice growing up. Was like, what are you talking about, Luigi? Let's go. Like, that was my Mario voice growing up, was that. So that's probably what I'll always think of when I think of Mario Bros. Because I grew up with Captain Lou Albano, then whatever the next voice was, Bob Hoskins channeled that, Brooklyn, you know, that accent. Sure. So that's where I am. But the Chris Pratt one, I'm like, I'm just buying into it because it looks like Super Mario Brothers. Like, there's no denying it looks like a really amazing looking version of the video game. The story, I love that he's practicing in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited. I think some people are concerned. Like I said, I think Luigi's going to get kidnapped, which makes sense. But I do think the princess will be kidnapped at some point, and I think she's going to be unsuccessful in her attempts to like thwart Bowser every once in a while. And speaking of which, I hope the movie ends with Mario going to sleep and then Wart arrives.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? That would be gold.
The forgotten villain of Mario.
Villain.
Well, but I think it'll actually be Wario, to be honest. But Wart would be incredible.
Wart would be great. Voiced by Christoph Waltz. Christoph Ward. Yeah, the Lou Albano thing, yeah, that's from a bygone era. In fact, I was looking up New York accents for some of my voice acting students last semester. And I learned while I was researching it, I was like, apparently that version of the Brooklyn accent is going extinct. Like that doesn't really exist anymore. The whole like, holy ravioli, Luigi, we got to get over there. Like that's going away because accents change over time. That's just what happens. I've never been, as far as this movie is concerned, I don't care if he doesn't sound like the game. That won't bother me if he doesn't sound like the game. I just don't want him to sound like Chris Pratt. That's all. And sometimes in the trailers he sounds good, and sometimes he sounds like Chris Pratt. So that's why I'm still like sitting on the fence. I'm like, I'll hold out.
I think if the
positive or
movie
negative judgment.
the movie has to be good. You just have to forget the voice. I wish they didn't announce who the voice was when we just watched the movie. Like, because all anyone talks about is Chris Pratt. It's like, oh my god.
I know.
Who cares? The movie looks fun. I get like I'm actually kind of okay with it sounding like Chris Pratt because you watch The Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch. He's like, well, I'll change my voice. You're like, what the hell's the point of having Benedict Cumberbatch voice the Grinch, who sounds like the Grinch already? Like, and then he changes it. You're like, but you sound less like the Grinch now than you do when you just talk like Smaug. So that I love the Grinch movie, by the way. Same studio. Do love the Grinch movie. Probably gonna watch it very soon. Already watched the Jim Carrey Grinch because the Grinch is the best.
I've never seen the Cumberbatch Grinch. I'm sorry.
But it's good. Here's the problem. I think we talked about this recently. It's funny because I actually really like the Jim Carrey one, and obviously I love the original. Like whatever, but they have to stretch this short little story into an hour and a half to 2 hours, right? So the Jim Carrey one did what it did, and people hated the Jim Carrey one when it came out. Like they like disdained it. Like it sucked. Now it's like this beloved cult class. I'm like, it's almost like the prequels. I'm like, where were you 20 years ago when everybody hated this movie? And so then the Cumberbatch one comes out, and I saw it with my nieces and nephew, and this was years ago, so they were kids. And I watched them, like, and some of the elements of the Jim Carrey one are kind of in there because they have to stretch the movie, and I guess there's only one way they can think. But it's got a lot of fun stuff in it. And then I was like, oh man, that was really entertaining. And the kids were like, yeah, we loved it. Aaron liked it. And then we had you were here. We had a New Year's party, and some friends saw it, and they're like, yeah, but you can't beat the Jim Carrey one. And I was like, what the hell just happened? They're very different. I would recommend that Christmas Time, Andrew. It's a fun Christmas movie to watch, and it's only like an hour and a half, and it's very harmless, very fun, and it's directed by Scott Mosier of View Askew.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah, I'll check that out one of these days. I had no ill will towards it. I was just like, oh yeah, the Grinch, whatever.
The problem is like there's too many of them.
Yeah, there's a lot. It wasn't on my radar back in the day that the Ron Howard one was hated. I guess because I was so young and I wasn't keeping track of, what.
Yeah, you would have been a kid, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember distinctly that was the first time in my life, and still to this day, one of the few times when I watched the Jim Carrey Grinch, at the end of the movie, credits come up, lights come up, standing ovation in a full theater.
What?
I've seen that maybe in like Endgame and maybe one other thing that I can't even remember. But yeah, that theater was loving it.
Well, that's good because the two movie theater experiences that stand out for me are negative, and that was Cloverfield. Both these movies I like. This is the irony. Cloverfield 1, which I appreciate. I appreciated more later than I did at the time, but I still liked it when I saw it. 10 Cloverfield Lane's one of my favorites, but the first Cloverfield movie, the theater was silent. There was it was a day Heath Ledger died too. We got a theater and found out Heath Ledger died. But we're in the theater. The movie ends. There's like 20 people in it, maybe. They all kind of get up scared. But the guy in front of me turns and goes, "Well, that was just hated," and walked away. And then this is gonna get me in trouble. Then the next one is The Last Jedi. We paid a lot of money for tickets for this fan experience, which sucked. The fan experience was garbage. Absolutely garbage, Andrew. It was like $20 more per ticket.
Oh yeah, that's right.
we all felt ripped off. Like all of us were like, this is trash. So if the movie was the greatest movie ever made, we still would have been like, it probably still would have tainted the movie going experience. So the movie ended and no one said anything. And all you heard was like shuffling of jackets, zipping up, and then people walking, and I was like, "Is this?" I don't know what's happening. Like I couldn't gauge anything, and Brock was like, "That was the greatest ever," and Rob was like, and I sat beside Rob, and Rob shook his head a lot. A lot of it. And the thing that's funny is Pauline's mentioning Rise of Skywalker, but you saw Rise of Skywalker with us, and that was the polar opposite. People were like, they didn't cheer, but people were like happier when that movie ended. But I think honestly, Last Jedi was just that fan experience. Plus, people probably weren't into the movie, but it was like the fan experience. Like it was an extra $20 for this crappy little bag of popcorn, some giant trading cards. And we got to watch a 4-minute documentary on John Williams, narrated by like Ryan Johnson. And it was like, I mean, it was good, but put it on YouTube. Don't charge me $20 for it. You know what I mean? And we saw it an hour earlier. Who cares? Who cares? Phil Stanford was in Thailand. He saw it like a day before because it was about an hour. So that tainted everything. But I just remember, but Cloverfield was the funnier one because that guy just got up. Like, same thing. It was like January, September. Well, that was shit. And then walked away. So I've never had like an experience where people just clap. I've always heard the Die Hard test screening. After the first test screening or whatever of Die Hard, somebody stood up in the front row and just yelled, "Play it again!" And that's always stuck out to me. I'm like, that sounds, because that's for me, that's top 5 greatest movies of all time.
Wow, that's cool. I hope they did play it again. You got to track down that Cloverfield guy and see what he's up to. Have him on the show. Yeah, The Grinch, man, that got a standing O, and I to this day I still remember it. And I also remember Cloud Atlas, the Wachowski movie Cloud Atlas, which is really underrated and a magnificent movie. It didn't get applause at the end, but the credits showed visually who played whom, and like every actor played like 12 different characters. So sometimes you couldn't even tell that like that was Halle Berry because she was covered in makeup. So during the credits, people in the theater were gasping and going like, "Oh my God, that was Tom Hanks!" So there was a lot of that. That was a really cool reaction. And who knows, maybe that'll happen in Star Wars Episode 10, the Quadaneros experiment, which just got confirmed at whatever this thing is where all these trailers are dropping. James, do you have any final thoughts on Andor's F-bomb, on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, or Sulla and the F-bomb of Jones?
I'm glad they cut the F-bomb. Just doesn't need to be in there. Oh, people did clap in Avatar, the stupidest part. That made me hate Avatar even more. When the bad guy got killed, I'm like, you know what's coming. Why are you clapping? I'll never forget. I'm just like, I can't wait for Indiana Jones. I'm glad the F-bomb was stricken from the show because it doesn't belong in Star Wars. And Sala's return I'm very happy that he's back.
Me too. It's about time we saw that beautiful man and his fez on screen. Give us a black series of Sala, Hasbro. You know, actually, it's Indiana Jones, so it should be like the beige series. That's what it should be called. I am so happy to have been able to get all these trailers coming out in like one fell swoop. This is great, and all this fun news. I'm excited about DC. I'm excited about Mario. I'm excited about Star Wars and Mandalorian and Bad Batch and whatever the hell they're going to give us next. And I'm glad that all of you came here to talk to us and with us about it. James, everybody, may the Force be with you. And you were always scum.
I don't know, like Andor scum?
Fight the Empire.
Ooh.